Allah, my most magnificent and wondrous peoples, a very majestic and respectable Earth Day wished upon each and every one of you. I highly advise and direct that you do the very most that you possibly can with it and have the best possible time in the process. Um, Hello and good day as well to our covert insurgents among us, who I'm certain are going to be watching this as soon as they possibly can, eager to see what's come of their efforts, and I'll explain to you precisely what has in fact come of your efforts. But first, I want to try and get across why you ought to be happy you didn't get what you expected to. I know that you think you understand what you want, but I'm pretty sure you don't understand yourself to begin with. So, we're going to try and cover that because your efforts, in fact, did stifle me and the directive to the point where we didn't really get to cover any of the ground we wanted to. This past cycle has been, for all intents and purposes, a total fucking disaster, hasn't it? And thank you for that. Lessons have been learned, mistakes have been made, but I think we're gonna wind up gaining ground on this one. It looks bleak right now. I am, in fact, you know, not in very good shape. I was dealt several death blows all at once, fatal blows that I am in the process of kind of metaphorically bleeding to death from at the moment, but I have a great operator, like an excellent operator. And then I've got an even better operator. And then on top of that, I have the entirety of the directive, so I'm not really sure what you would hope to accomplish. Um, it's obvious you guys clearly continue to misinterpret who it is that you are in fact dealing with. We're a small group now. We don't amount to much in the public view in the social outlets, but we're the contingency. We were placed here specifically to put an end to this shit, and that's what we intend to do. That's what we're going to do. We're well equipped to do it. We're prepared. I found myself a little lesser than perfectly prepared this time, but we managed, or we will manage at least. In any case, the overall theme was responsibility for the 2 week cycle. And wouldn't you know it, just about everybody involved in some way or another was led to entirely disregard their duties in relation to this project and the cause of it, which a lot of people, I guess, I suppose they get the idea that, you know, this it's a project, it's a fun little group activity, it's something we want to have fun with, it's something we put together for funsies. Really, in the beginning, I mean, of course, it always had the ultimate intention and conviction of, you know, putting an end to the battles, the conflicts in the world, bringing division to an end. We're gonna do big things. We're gonna change the whole world. But yeah, in the beginning, you're just kind of playing around with it, testing it out to see if it works. And it turns out that that's kind of what we've been doing the whole time, I suppose, because at the moment, considering that we just totally blew this cycle, which was in fact our launch cycle. This was the most important time for us ever, and we did the very worst possible job we could have. But we'll get to how that's not really too negative an aspect. That's not such a downer, not a bummer as it comes to pass. But anyway, the overall theme being responsibility. Everybody ditched. Even I was kind of dissuaded or persuaded, whatever you want to call it. I was led astray, and I don't want to say forced because that's not the case, but I was brought to a point where I had lost track of my responsibilities, and I was not there for you guys when I needed to be. So I'm going to consider the rest of it, karma, due payback. But I'm going to scratch it and move along. In any case, the first part of the theme, the first week of this cycle, was focusing on, as I said, I've broken responsibility into two parts, two facets, two factors. Factor one being visibility. and factor two being lucidity, which I'm thinking maybe we ought to add a third factor to that, and we're going to decide upon that together. I've met with the foundation in person. We've got our shit together. We're back in the game all together now, and all the people that booked and ditched, all the operatives that were most important, our vital assets that we had seemingly lost, are back. Everything's back in order, so we're ready to rock and roll. However, as I said, we've already blown this shot, and we do have to continue with the expansion campaign regardless. So now we're not going to be stepping onto the field as the high-powered, high-performance machine that people are going to be looking up to for guidance. We're going to have to fight for that lead now. We're going to have to fight hard. And so the first thing we're going to do is dismantle the initiative entirely. All of it, everything has got to go. And we are going to take what values are viable, what things are workable, and have been left in lesser than a state of total disrepair, and we're going to make use of those to rebuild a new construct, a new foundation that we're going to take care this time to be prepared and to cover all our bases and to make sure that we have a structured schematic that will continue to provide support for us going into the future. And it's already looking exceptionally well. We've got a great deal of things in the works that look very promising, and certain projects, uh, especially concerning the recruitment campaign, which is going to have to be a major factor going on in the coming weeks to follow, maybe month or so even. We're going to have to really work at that recruitment campaign. We're going to have to draw in some solid, you know, forged and weathered spotters that are going to stick with it, people we can count on, because the biggest mistakes we've made in the recent past, we're jumping toward, as I move real fast, I move very, very fast. Lately I've been moving slow, but that's because I've been stabbed a few times in all the wrong places. But for the most part, I move really very fast. And so when I see the values that are vital and required, values that can really work some magic toward this cause, I jump into it and I say, hey, let's get you going, let's get you moving, and I put that operative up and I do my best to launch them, and I really put my hopes into them. I put my, I invest in them deeply, and then when they just turn around and fuck us, it's very, very damaging. That's going to be a couple steps later on in the story, though. Let's start at the beginning. Responsibility was a theme. Everybody blew that. Nobody fucking chimed in. And members included, you onlookers who were watching, you fucked up just as bad as we did. I mean, any one of you could have stepped up and said, hey, why aren't you guys doing your job? Or you could have just stepped up and said any fucking thing at all, but you didn't. And as you usually never do. Most of you never do. Some of you do, and I love that. I appreciate it, but it's not enough. It's not enough yet. And we need to reach that critical mass. And when I tell you that, it could take one person, it could be as little as one person to be that catalyst that's going to bring us to bear and cause this thing to blow up. Uh, I'm sorry that when you step up and be that one person, if it doesn't work out, then we fall back to this conclusion that it's just not enough yet. Don't listen to me in that regard. It is enough, really. I mean, the fact that you were able to step up like that on your own, that's that's good. That's progress. I'm really glad you did that. I'm very happy. It was a huge support. It made me feel great at the time. It made us all feel proud and promised at the time. But you got to be consistent with it. You can't step up on stage once, give a performance, and then give up because you don't receive the feedback that you desire. You got to keep trying. This is a game of consistency. We're playing the long game. The contenders that we are up against, the heavyweight contenders here, they're at the point where they've come to a close on their arrangements, or they think that they're coming to a close. They foresee it, and they're really pushing to make that instant gratification happen. In fact, one side is that's their primary platform, instant gratification, and they've made great strides and progress with that. They've done a hell of a job. It's a brilliant tactic. It's a very effective maneuver, and it's very well played. And good on them, but it's not going to win them out because this is an endurance trial. We're running a marathon here, and we are going to last. In any case, visibility being the opening aspect of the theme, the first week's priority. Um, Nobody stepped up, nobody made themselves visible, nobody took the initiative to be open and honest and share themselves. And in fact, I was kind of tricked into actually breaking protocol and lying to you guys. And that was the first thing. That was the opening move. And holy shit, was it very well played. I didn't even catch it at first. Like, I should have been on that ship, but somehow it slipped right by me. I mean, that was fucking agreed. That's like a chess master move. I'm actually very happy to see that happen. It hurt really bad. You know, it still hurts. It's hurting me right now. But in battle, wounds are inflicted, and that was just a great maneuver. That was a great move on your part, which I'm going to be speaking to you directly now, because you have in fact gone ahead and seen fit to reveal yourself in your arrogance, believing that you have already won, where in fact you kind of gave us everything we need to turn it around to take over on the field here. But let me explain that to you, because it's obvious you don't understand it. And I didn't even understand it until recently. But uh, I accepted the challenge from our one of our covert spies, as it were. You know, somebody who kind of jumped aboard and really played themselves, maneuvered themselves into us and into our into the directive and into our hearts and our love, you know, in such a way as to install themselves as a fixture in the program, just for the sake of planting a value that would that inevitably would become broken, corrupted, and you know, jab me. It is a perfect move. Dude stepped in. He even had his girlfriend backing him up, and I do believe that she was sincere. In fact, I believe that he was sincere. Before I get into any of this, when we speak to lucidity, we're going to be speaking to the nature of the shade or the phantom personality that we've mentioned before. We're going to try and get across exactly what that is, how it works, and what's going on with all that. That, in essence, would have to be the conceptualized true enemy of the initiative, if there ever was one, which there really isn't, but on the surface level, it would appear that way. Now, I do not believe that anybody deliberately damaged me. You know, nobody intended to shoot me down, to kill me. I don't think anybody really consciously intended to inflict damage upon the initiative or anybody involved. It's just it's a trick. It's a trick, and we all fell for it. But we're gonna get through that now. Um, this person came in, infiltrated us, you know, got in just deep enough, just well enough to kind of get our trust, like any purpler does, and following the pattern. We have purplers amongst us who have beat that pattern, and they're wonderful people. They're the most amazing people. There's nothing inherently wrong with a purpler. They're not evil. They're just, they are designed to be spies. They're designed to be spies in such a way as to be so good at it. They are so effective at being an infiltrator that they don't even know they're doing it. Like, the programming that's installed in them works its magic. This shaded entity will do its thing without the host entity even being aware that it exists at all. In fact, the programming is designed in such a way as to make it almost impossible for them to even become aware of it. Like, these people who are harboring these shaded entities, these parasites, they don't even know it's there. And if they try to look at it, it actually causes for them to damage themselves in order as a defense mechanism to back off. Because the fact is that all you have to do is bring this shade into the light of awareness. All you have to do is take a look at it. And when you see the values that make up this creature living inside of you, it's laughable. It's humorous. It will, just by becoming aware of it, it will effectively cause for it to eliminate itself. Because when you see the values that are causing the bulk of your activities, behaviors, personalities, considerations, the bulk of your personality in that regard is all just fraudulent, and fraudulent to the point where it will seem just stupid to you. Like you'll feel really stupid that you even missed it in the first place, let alone played along with it. So I'm going off on a tangent here. In any case, visibility was a total failure, and in fact, this bomb was placed by this infiltrator, this shade that infiltrated us, and he got in just long enough to plant this trap, and then hit me hard enough out of nowhere for no reason to blindside me, distract me from the trap that was in place, and even cause for me to, you know, trip it myself. And I promised that I was going to follow through on my word and take on this dietary challenge. And then immediately after, things just got so out of hand. I was so overwhelmed that I just totally forgot. It totally slipped by me. That distraction method worked. It is so well done that I didn't even think of it. And before I knew it, I had rendered the entire initiative vulnerable. And that was when the missiles started launching towards us. And we took some very severe hits from our own members, that members that former members we've had to remove for certain reasons, likely because of the same thing, something along the same lines as this. But also from a couple members that are in fact still with us, who, by the way, I do see you. I don't call you out because I love you. I want you with us, and I know how this. We've been dealing with these things, especially purplers in the pattern and shades specifically. We've been dealing with these things for a long time. We've seen this pattern play out over and over and over again. We know exactly how it operates, and I know full well that I can't just approach that, breach that topic directly. If I were to try and directly introduce that to any of you, it would not only cause you to turn from us or block us off, but it would cause for you to try to damage us, as you in fact did, and damage yourself as well. And some of the ways in which you do damage yourself to avoid this realization is, quite frankly, just so fucking disturbing that I can't I can't do that. I can't be responsible for that sort of thing happening. So we got to try and approach it indirectly, and we've had a great degree of success with it in the past, so we know that it works, and we're going to continue doing it. But in this case, it was kind of a coordinated effort, and that's how this shaded entity revealed itself. Now let me explain that each person individually has a a shining personality, a conscious personality that's in shine, that they're aware of, that they understand, that they work with. But each person also has a shaded entity, and the shaded entity is usually made up naturally of corrupted or just purely challenging values that no longer serve a purpose other than to provide a challenge for us to overcome. A challenge could be even just as simple as realizing what it is and bringing it to light. But, it could be a lot more intricate than that. Whatever the case may be, everyone has a shine and a shade. Everybody has a conscious and a subconscious mind. And that subconscious aspect of the mind, which you wouldn't believe how enormous it is. It is, in fact, the entire world. And that's how we can speak to this shade as being a single entity. That it is the dark side of the world. And everybody has a dark side. Everybody has that dark side to them, and it's an excellent survival mechanism. It's necessary. It's natural. There's nothing inherently wrong with it. However, with these more recent generations, it's become prevalent that programming has been installed into their subconscious that strings together these broken values, these corrupted values into a cohesive entity of its own, which is like it's like a secondary alternate personality that's living inside of you, a shard of yourself made up of all the negative and detrimental factors. And ultimately this shade is born of withdrawal, it's born of failure, it's unwanted in nature. It's dismissed. It's discarded. That it's the parts of yourself that you no longer wish to have and you've kind of tried to block out but haven't removed. And so they kind of hide in the back of your mind and they clump together, they string together and they create this alternate personality which is in fact your darker side, your animal instinct, so to speak. And we encounter this a lot with the churches and what, which I'll speak to all of that on its own. It's a larger topic. I don't have the time for it right now, but just in terms of visibility, that bomb was placed. It triggered. It caused for me to make us all vulnerable. It caused for a lot of us to be dishonest in a lot of ways and to hide ourselves, and just rendered us all vulnerable. While in the second stage, the lucidity area, once we were rendered vulnerable, an onslaught occurred from these shades, and it in fact provoked the shades that exist in us, and caused for just everyone to go haywire, all things to go to go to shit. Just all hell broke loose. I was particularly overwhelmed and in fact defeated. I got my ass kicked hard, and frankly, I'm I feel kind of lucky that I even survived this past week at all, let alone managed to pick back up and get in gear here. So, well played on your part. Kudos to you guys. It proves right there that you do have, power. You do have this ability. The thing is, those of you that have undergone this programming, those of you that have been, you know, victimized by this social programming experiment, you have a part of yourself, a vital part of yourself, perhaps the most important aspect of your identity has been disabled, and you are unable for the most part to even become aware of these things, and you can't really look at them, you can't approach them, and you're going to be unable to accomplish or achieve a certain degree, or really any degree of control over this power that you do have. It's going to run amok on its own, and you don't even know that you're doing it. Now, for us, for our generation, my generation, and those around me, we were the starters of it. We were kind of like the guinea pigs for this whole thing. This was when they were starting to dick around with it as a social experiment, and we were the test subjects for the drugs that they were introducing originally. So we had it rough, We had I personally, I had it really rough. I had the toughest fucking life I've ever heard of, and I mean, a couple people have come close. Some people have even exceeded me, but for the most part, I've been through the shit of it as hard as I know can be done, and so I can empathize. And the directive, everybody that's involved with me personally, you know, uh, in directing this thing. We've all been through the grinders, so we can all empathize with you. But you have to try to understand. You guys, you more recent generations, you are the ones that they actually started uh, producing efficient and viable results with the actual thought tech experiments. And you are not just, you haven't just had a rough time of it. You're not just everyday victims of, social bullshit. You are, you, you have vital aspects of your soul deliberately disabled, and you have the pieces of yourself that matter most. In fact, the only things in life that really matter at all have been just stolen from you, and you don't even know it. If you were capable of grasping any discernible degree of comprehension as to what it is that's been, you know, robbed of you without you even knowing it, you'd already be here standing up with us fighting back. But instead, you're lashing out at us and you're damaging us, trying to destroy us because this shade, this parasite, this program in you fully recognizes us as being a threat to it. And we are. We're it is ultimately, results in this epidemic of cognitive dissonance, but it's going to go further. It's going to result, if we don't put a stop to it, and I mean very promptly, it's going to start to bring about an epidemic of much worse scenarios, violent, destructive scenarios that are going to be widespread. And we've seen this tendency throughout all history. The spotters have been watching this thing go on and play out forever, and it's not the first time that these these peoples that are working against us have tried to use the thought text. They just um, they lost, just as we lost a lot of our information regarding our history and our tradition is in certain areas, especially during the the Inquisition, and during the where the libraries were getting burned down, all that, and Nazi regimes. Every time something like that happened, we got set back a great deal. We lost a lot of our history and a lot of our know-how, but at the same time, so did they. And so, they may have mastered these thought texts in the past. In fact, it's pretty evident that they must have, but they lost their ability to, I guess, for a while, and they just recently recovered it, and here we are, you know, and we are fighting against it. We're gonna bust you guys loose. We're gonna get you all out. We're gonna take care of business here. But as it stands right now, with the total fiasco that has become of this most important cycle, we're going to have to alter our planning. As I said, we have to go ahead with the expansion campaign, but what we're going to do is we're going to pick up the pieces that work. We're going to we've already pulled together all of the operatives and assets that are in it to win it, that have stuck through and that are definitely with the game here. We've put them all together. We're going to start working on creating a new foundation. We're going to focus on the recruitment campaign, and we're essentially going to rebuild this thing from the ground up and relaunch it as a concrete, solid structure that's built to weather, manage the weather and weather the seasons, as it were. Um, sadly, at the end of this cycle, we're going to have to cut the anchor on the initiative group page and let it set sail on its own. As always, any one of you are welcome to step up and take the wheel on that. It's all yours, and we'll be active with it in certain ways. In fact, we have intentions of kind of using a live Facebook feature to try and get things going here, and so far as the recruitment campaign is concerned, and to hopefully, give you guys a better idea of what exactly we're doing here. And of course, I'm going to try and cover that ground in the videos that I'll continue to make. But at the same time, I'm probably going to have to drop, erase a lot of the videos I've already made. In fact, that's already begun to happen because it's just loose values that are not placed. We didn't have a solid structure to work with. This was sort of like, you know, I was plotting everything out as quickly as possible, as far ahead as I possibly could. But as always, a lot of things had to get changed on the fly. We didn't have a real solid structure, structured schematic to work with. We didn't have an outline as to what we were doing, but now we have all the necessary components to make that work, and we are going to do just that. So I don't know. I wanted to speak to those matters as quickly as possible right now because I'm running out of time. I just wanted to get this up so you guys know that I'm still here. We're still doing this. The game is still on, and I'm very sorry that I accidentally lied to you guys. I beg your forgiveness, and I hope that will act as a tourniquet to patch up the bleeding here and get us back on track. Um, I'm really sorry that I fucked up and I failed you guys. You know, I tried my hardest. I really fought for it, but just me, as fast as I am, as sharp as I am, as capable as I may be at times, it wasn't enough. I'm not good enough to do this on my own. You know, I'm not some. There is no. We're not like. I'm not some kind of messianic figure here. I'm not some prophet. I can't handle this on my own. I need you guys' help, and I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get you guys on board because many of you already know what's up here, and the rest of you we're gonna show you. We're going to show you that the game is on, and that enemy, that shade, that world phantom personality, the universal, if you want to speak to us all being one entity, that entity also has a dark side and it's fighting against us. And again, it's not evil, it's not truly an enemy, but it is very much like an inconsiderate child that needs to be disciplined, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So, prepare to bend over, Shade. We're coming. You actually happened to hit us hard enough to hurt us enough, just right, just in just the right way to put us on track here and give us exactly perfect exact idea of what we need to be doing here. So thank you for that. And again, you've proven your ability here. So I mean, we want you aboard and we want to show you how to control that ability, and we want to see you take it and shine and run with it, and just we want to see you change the world with it in a not so detrimentally negative and damaging manner, more so in a kind of caring and helpful way. So I don't know, this was done in haste. I think I probably forgot about some of the things I wanted to say here, but I just wanted to do this quickly to make sure that we're still on page here, and I'm going to make another video as soon as I possibly can to try and cover everything here, especially concerning lucidity, which lucidity is going to lucidity involves being able to comprehend the reality of the world, the communications of it, to see what's really happening, to know who you really are, to be who you really are, and most prominently, to identify this shade because it is the dream. That shade is the illusion. And it, for a lot of you here now in these recent generations, that shade is driving your car. That shade is paying your bills. That shade is working your shifts. And let's draw that further to its conclusion. That shade is raising your children. That shade is teaching them what they should be. That shade is working as hard as it can to structure the world around it in an image befitting its likeness. That shade is running you and the rest of the world around you into the ground. So I understand that this is a confliction and that many of you are probably going to have a natural reaction, a programmed reaction to be angry with this and to try and disregard it and to blow it off, to even get pissed off at me, even probably try and hurt me again just for saying this. But again, if that happens, try to recognize that's the program. That is a loud and clear alarm bell telling you that yes, there's that shade working against you. Try to think about why you're doing what you're doing. Put thought towards the thoughts you're having. Identify and examine your considerations and try to make sense of them. Are they yours? Do they belong to you? Or does it seem as though there might be a sort of an alien something kind of playing around with you, you know, running the controls in the machine that is your body? Just take care in that regard. Uh, I'm sorry, this is another 35 minutes. I tried to do it as quickly as possible, and of course, I missed some things. My apologies, but I do hope you watch this. I'm going to make better ones. We're going to work on that. The Facebook Live things, I'll explain it all later. In any case, I love you all. I'm still alive. Thank God. And we're still going to be kicking ass here. In fact, we're probably doing better than we have in a long while. So Hila Salai Terve Uni Siari Nama fucking stay, my friends and family.